Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the first of two sessions of Future Campuses chosen, well, not yet, chosen award winners for basically marketing campaigns. We've got three presentations this afternoon. So the time is tight. Everybody will get 10 minutes to present, then 5 minutes questions, and then roll on to the next. Anyone who doesn't keep the time, I will remorselessly buzz them with Louis Armstrong. Do you think I'm kidding? First up, gentlemen, from VU.
I'm Russell Downing. I look after brand and marketing.
And I'm David Llewellyn. I'm the Chief Marketing and Experience Officer. But thanks to everybody for attending this session. As I say, we've got three sessions to go through. We were just saying a moment ago, we were quite chuffed that the two Vice Chancellors that presented earlier today had a bit of a call out for marketing collectively. So it was good that somehow we found ourselves onto the radar. What Russell and I would like to take you through over the next 9.5 minutes is the campaign that we pulled together way back at the start of 2023. It feels like a long time ago, but we'll just step you through it in the short period of time that we've got. We're very, very proud of it and delighted with the results. So we'd like to share those with you and hopefully you find that of some interest, and please do ask us any questions at the end. Back at the commencement of 2023, it was pretty apparent to us that something needed to change at VU. And the narrative very much was back then around, what's marketing going to do around our brand and how are you going to change our brand? Both Russell and I come from a background outside of the sector, and we saw the opportunity for the work that we needed to do to be much broader than just addressing a brand issue. We saw our role as a marketing team and as a marketing function as being a strategic driver inside the organisation and championing students' interests and bringing to life data to make sure that we had informed decision making around strategy and direction. So the approach that we took was different to a traditional approach from a marketing perspective. We looked at three key areas in order to be able to deliver for us. The first one, which was quite clear, is we had declining applications, and all of the insights work that we did explained to us many of the reasons behind those declining applications, and they were those sort of traditional metrics such as a decline in brand preference. We saw challenges around market spend in our share of voice and so on and so forth, and Russell will talk a little bit more about that. But importantly, beyond that, we really focused as well. So just getting people to commence an application or getting prospective students to the website is not enough. We needed to be able to make sure that we could drive that conversion from interest all the way through to enrolment, but also beyond enrolment to ensure that we focused on retention and focused on creating great experiences for our customers or our students. And I know customers is one of those words that we find difficult within the sector, but at the end of the day, our students have lots of choice and they're paying a lot of money for their education. So the second key area that we focused on was really understanding what was going wrong within what we call the conversion funnel. So we broke down all of the data points down to the 13 key data points, which made up the conversion funnel, and pulled apart each one of those data points and created work streams to address where the breakdowns were to be able to improve the performance of our conversion. And the way we explained it to the organisation was really simple, and we've put it up there. We just wanted to make it easy to apply and simpler to enrol, and that's what we did. And the third key area that we focused on was making sure that once we got prospective students to enrol and they became students, how do we create a much better experience for them? And what we identified was we had quite a disconnected and siloed approach to managing students within the organisation. And we didn't even have a basic roadmap of understanding what was the experience that students went through, or, in current kind of marketing language, what is the student journey map or the student journey experience? So we went about mapping that. So that was the approach that we took across those three phases.
From a marketing perspective, specifically what we looked at was work that had gone before from the Victoria University perspective. What came through for us was somewhat of a formulaic approach to our marketing messaging. And it wasn't particularly clear. It wasn't particularly clear what we stood for. And some of the messages that we put out there didn't really explain clearly our point of difference. So some of you in the room will remember our tagline for the video, which was "New Way to Do Uni." If you go back to the research on that, it wasn't clear what a new way to do uni was. The majority of the audience thought it was actually online learning as opposed to a way of learning. We have a very short-term horizon in terms of our planning and our focus on media, and it all went to the bottom of the funnel. So it was all on conversion, it was getting people to the site and really just measuring volume of traffic and the amount of people who clicked on the apply button. There wasn't very much at the top of the funnel. So we needed a much better mix to our approach. And then lastly, we weren't clear in communicating a compelling proposition. So why would you choose Victoria University as an alternative to another university? And Adam spoke very eloquently this morning regarding the block model, and that, without a shadow of doubt, has given us a proof point to act as a foundational piece of work off which we were able to live.
So we mapped out a 6-step process to take us from where we were to where we needed to get to. The first piece that we did was a deep understanding of the audience and their journey. So that included understanding that complete journey experience in terms of the conversion funnel and building out to creating a really deep dive on the student journey map. So we engaged with over 2,000 past, present and prospective students to be able to inform that piece of work. We did a big deep dive into the category to understand the point of difference, and what we really uncovered was there's a huge amount of misunderstanding, misattribution that existed within the marketplace. And prospective students largely found it very, very difficult to differentiate across institutions, and as a result to be able to make informed choices. And the pervasive view was that there was little difference across the different universities, so that the choice was really a brand choice rather than institutional choice itself. We then had to, once we were informed with that, find the right partners, so that were obviously external partners. And then we needed to craft the proposition and take the organisation on the journey. So one of the things we were really cognizant of is that this was a piece of work that needed to be a whole of institution piece of work. We needed to take all of the stakeholders right across the university with us. So we invested a significant amount of time in taking both academic and professional staff on the journey through workshops, stakeholder engagement sessions. But critically important at that point there was the work that we did around Open Day. So we made a number of changes to the way that we executed Open Day, the way that we enrolled VU employees in that journey, and that became a key point in taking them on the journey for the new brand piece. So through that engagement, we then launched the campaign, and then we'll move to the results. But one thing I would say is right at the very start, the big piece of work that we did was identify what were the key metrics that we wanted to define as success across those 3 key areas. And as they say, what don't get measured, don't get done. So we were very, very clear on having very clear metrics around what success was across the 3 areas that we focused on.
So just to talk to some of those steps in a smidge more detail in the time that we've got, first thing we did was get a much deeper understanding of what we call the semi. Now, this was done back in 2023. We just come out of COVID, and the values that were most important then were honesty, empathy, and improvement. I was here in Victoria. There was some difference state to state, but having gone through one of the hardest lockdowns in the world, it's no surprise, particularly that freedoms there now over-indexed in Victoria versus the rest of Australia. So by understanding them better, we can start to then craft messages to talk to. The other factor we uncovered as well is they have an attention span for media of 1.3 seconds. Okay, scientifically, it's 1.3 seconds, and it takes 2.6 seconds to start to formulate memory structures in the brain. So you've got to hold their attention for at least twice their attention span to be able to get the message you're saying to stick. So both of these insights, or both of these kind of points of information, both the values and also then the media, the fragmented nature of where they live online and where they live and how they consume media, fed into the creative and then fed into the execution strategy as well. As David said, we did a mapping exercise, which hopefully should start to appear. This wasn't the final version, but keeps going. If you ever come to Fitzroy Park, it's 7 meters long. It's on the wall, and it's the first thing you see when you walk out of the lift on that floor. because we want everybody to see the journey a student goes through from before study to after study. And it identified the moments that matter, and it scored us. How are we doing? Where do we need to be?
So what we found were there were three key areas that came through in all of the insights work, which we've already really touched on a mindful of time. It is a highly competitive market that we're operating in, plenty of choice, and there's an enormous amount of money spent across the sector to promote it. The marketing messages across the sector are surprisingly similar. So how do we stand out? And increasingly for students, prospective students, they're talking about how does the choices that I make around my education ensure that I secure the job in the career area that I'm after. So what we really focused on was the uniqueness of our students. And we saw that this was the key area that we wanted to bring to life, because we recognise for us as an institution that we have a strong differentiated proposition around the block model. And all of the insights work that we did with our students, with prospective students, continue to come through. Students recognise their own unique attributes and how are they going to be able to fit into an environment, and how is the environment going to be able to cater to them.
So really, how did that come to life? So firstly, real students. I think Adam mentioned it this morning. Every single one of these people featured as a student, different backgrounds, different courses, really representative of Victoria University, as highlighted by some of the stats. What you also see part of that from a block messaging perspective is distilling the block into 6 words, right? Because that's all people are able to retain. Then layering on top of that, the second phase was how do we bring some of those stories to life and focus on the student. It's not about us as an institution. It's about the students, what we do for the students and them and their success stories. So as well as bringing these to life on an individual basis, we also ran a hero piece of content, which we'll just play for you now.
We all are born different. Fascinatingly unique compositions of genes and molecules that the world has never seen before. And that's just where our story begins. As we grow, the experiences we have and connections we form develop into talents and outlooks uniquely our own, shaping our potential, sharpening our perspectives. Our curiosity can become our best quality, and our greatest difference is the one we make. Because no one sees an idea, opinion, or opportunity like you. And no one sees you like VU. Victoria University. Uniquely you.
So very emotive storytelling for that piece. And it's really been working really well for us. So we've seen 3 continuous years of application growth, which has been really terrific. Block model awareness at its highest level, Adam would have mentioned earlier this morning, just over 70% of our students all nominate the block model as the number 1 reason that they choose VU. We've seen double-digit increases in consideration for our brand health. We came out number 1 in Victoria for student experience last year, and we saw record numbers attending open days over the last 2 months. So that's where we've got to. So I think we've got a few more minutes left for questions. Is that right?
Couple of minutes, quick questions. Anyone? So,
you mentioned that you leveraged Open Day to take the other members of the faculty and what have you on the journey. How did you sort of do that?
Yeah, sure. So there was a number of things that we did. So the first thing was connecting everybody through branding was really important. So for example, we did some really simple things like put everybody in the same blue t-shirts. Previously, we had an approach where the Vice Chancellor group, for example, were VIPs that toured Open Day. We all gave them jobs to do. So it was very much, including our Vice Chancellor was greeting prospective students on arrival. So it was very much a great equaliser for us as an institution. We also then re-pivoted the way that we organised Open Day. So got a greater focus around graduate employment, for example, was a really key area there. We empowered much more our student ambassadors to talk to other students around understanding what's unique about them. And we also talked to all of the teams about the fact we are pursuing quite openly a differentiation strategy focused around our block model. but it also means that we may not be the right choice for some students. And it's okay to have that confident conversation with that prospective students or their friends or family that may be attending at the same time. So it was very much an all-in understanding around the direction that we were taking.
Were there other changes happening at the university at the time? And if so, how did you introduce marketing to the application?
So a pretty good question. There were, but fundamentally the product offer, as we would call it, did not change. We were actually in a very lucky position, I would say, as marketers, because we had the proof points that already existed, and it was more around how we would package and could package those up in a compelling fashion that people could understand. And the reality is as well that some of our most popular courses are capped courses, which means that we have a finite amount of people we can take into them. So it really was less around the products and what we were offering. The change for us was just how we communicated it and crafted what we stood for. What I would say is, particularly with the blog, the recognition, as David said, has increased significantly. And what we do find is once you explain it to people, they get it and go, that sounds like a really great way to be able to study. We've also looked at things like the first year college that Adam spoke to this morning around dedicated success. But really, the focus for us has been taking what we already have and serving it up in a way that would make it resonate with us.
I'd also just say we were fortunate that we had other senior stakeholders across the university that were happy for us to kind of push into their areas, which you can see, because traditionally, you know, it was quite a siloed approach, which is, this is my territory, you need to stay out of it. But when we didn't bring that mindset to the university, it was kind of like we all own the same outcome, which is, you know, enrolling as many students as we can and creating great experiences. So let's all just do it together. So it was a shift in the mindset too.
Thank you, gents.
Thank you very much.
And now the local hero, Abby Allen from Deakin University.
I did help with the sound before. I felt like I was actually put to good use, which is awesome. Hey everyone, while I'm getting the slides up, I'll just, excellent, you can see them. So my name's Abby. I lead the brand and marketing communications team at Deakin Uni. Before I dive in, I got the sense this morning that there are a lot of marketers in the room. So can I just have a show of hands? Oh, excellent. I'm in fabulous company. That's great. That's really good. And I'm not surprised by the questions. And like David said, there was some good conversation from both our VCs earlier this morning. I did want to touch on that question that came up earlier this morning for Ian around, I guess, the struggle that many of us as marketers face in being recognised as the subject matter experts that we are. And Ian made a point in recognising that he has a role to play in that. And I do feel really fortunate to work for a Vice-Chancellor who not only understands marketing, but actively kind of connects with us and supports us and understands and champions that evidence-based approach. Ian did also touch on the role of emotion in advertising, and that's exactly where I want to pick up my presentation today. Because this is a story today about marketing. It's a story about our campaign. It's a story about ambition, but it's also a story about the evidence that underpins best practice marketing and underpins great advertising. So at Deakin, we set ourselves the goal not to just to produce great ads that look good. We want to produce ads that make people feel and that drive tangible impact for Deakin. Because we know that the evidence tells us that emotion drives memory and memory drives action. So yeah, this is a story about creativity, evidence and courage, but most importantly, how those things can really translate into real commercial impact. So I'm sure this one comes as no surprise. Universities operate in a parity heavy category. We offer similar courses, similar outcomes, similar graduate promises. Some of us have the rankings to prove it. Yet our brand health tracker, this is a snippet from it, and I'm going to assume that it's probably pretty similar or familiar to people in the room, some of the results on this screen. Our brand health tracker shows that there's this persistent halo effect around the group of 8. And so their reputations, especially in the academic and education quality, part of this graph. Shape prospective student preferences, regardless of what we do. So the challenge wasn't really just to make a good ad, it was to find a way to break through that group of 8 halo, shift the perceptions of Deakin and ultimately create that demand. We went in with some pretty clear goals: strengthen perceptions, drive consideration, influence preference, and of course, generate demand for Deakin. And to do that, we set ourselves a pretty specific benchmark to create a distinctive ad that truly moved people, but one that was also capable of achieving a 5-star System 1 rating. Some of you may be familiar with System 1. I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up. For those of you that aren't, it really is it's widely regarded as a global benchmark for advertising effectiveness. And so their methodology is grounded in behavioural science, and we understand that it strongly correlates with long-term brand growth and commercial impact. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but what I will say is setting the goal to achieve a 5-star rating in System 1 testing is pretty bold. To put it into perspective, the average Australian ad scores about 2.4. So yeah, it's only the very few that make it into that category. However, I think we've got a pretty good track record of producing great campaigns. Building from our brand essence of wonderful possibility, Deakin has produced ads that do cut through or have cut through the category C of sameness. So opportunity in 2021, I can't claim that. Matt, our CMO's here today. He was around for that one. And then Let's Keep Earth Wonderful, which we launched in 2023. Both made people feel and both were successful in their own rights. But this time we wanted to raise the bar. And so we asked ourselves, can we create, or could we create something that really unified the full breadth of Deakin into one single coherent story? Something that could help us break through that halo effect of the group of 8. And so that really became our ambition, to unify and bring together both pillars of Deakin, outstanding education and real-world research impact, into one single brand expression. A story that could authentically represent who we are and the outcomes that we deliver, while still feeling human, warm, maybe even a little playful. And so to do this, we knew authenticity was the key. Real stories told in a real sense of place. And so for the first time, we brought our brand campaign to life on campus. And that actually became a really powerful shortcut to embedding our brand authentically through the story. How did we deliver it? Well, we started with a tight insight-led brief where all good campaigns begin. We partnered closely with our with our creative agency, Sick Dog Wolfman. And that's a relationship that's really built on trust, transparency, and at times tough conversations and challenging ones. Every step was underpinned by behavioural science principles. We applied the System 1 principles and thinking both to the narrative and the way in which we brought the story to life. And we tested it. We tested it a couple of times, actually. Not just to prove the work, but to really understand if it had that ability to drive consideration and shift perceptions. So the resulting idea, and I'll play it in a second, is See the Wonderful Possible. Some of you have probably already seen it. Hopefully you've read the article from Stephen. Which brought our brand essence to life, wonderful possibility, in a way that, was grounded in clarity and confidence. For us, we feel like it celebrated those innovative moments and those experiences that happen across the university every day. So students finding their calling, researchers creating that tangible impact, and all of it was infused with the hope and kind of possibility of what studying at Deakin or working at Deakin can look like. And yes, I will say there is a lab coat in there. Ian talked about lab coats this morning. There's just one. But because it was filmed on campus and it was inspired by those real moments of possibility, it does feel pretty authentic and true. And if we had a person doing what they were doing in our ad without the lab coat and the safety glasses, we would have been criticised. So anyway, let's take a look.
Hey, can you see it?
See what?
The wonderful possible.
The wonderful what?
Don't worry, I'll show you. Say thunderstorms give you asthma.
Is that a thing?
Oh, it's a thing. So you make it your mission to tame the clouds with a mad invention.
No way.
Yeah, for real. Or you see the world drowning in fast fashion. So you chemically dissolve old cotton clothes into something new.
Whoa.
Thought you'd like that. Or you overcome language, distance, and economic barriers to become the first nursing graduate in your community ever.
And
love this.
Quite a story, huh?
What about a PhD at 80?
Still got it.
Pop-up law clinics anyone can access?
Nice.
Or lifting others up through education.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, you do. Deakin University. See the wonderful possible.
Smiles, that's always nice. It's terrible showing your work in front of a group of markers. Now the big question, the results. Did it work? Well, I guess I wouldn't be standing here if it didn't. But I'm going to talk to the results in two parts. So firstly, the creative testing and then some of the commercial outcomes that we're starting to see, noting that it is still early days. I mentioned before, we didn't test this once, we tested it twice. And not because we didn't believe the first results, because we wanted just a more well-rounded picture. And I also mentioned that our aspiration was around creating a 5-star ad using the System 1 methodology and scale. So the reason we look to System 1 at Deakin is because we believe it to be the global scorecard for kind of advertising effectiveness. I think it's more than 175,000 ads have been pushed through the platform and tested through the platform, and it is used by countless global brands. But System 1 gives you kind of gives us a good sense on the emotion and action. What was missing was a bit more of that qualitative data around the perceptions and the shifting of consideration. So we partnered with our research agency, Luma, to kind of fill the picture. Now, normally you'd see the star rating first, but I wanted to build out a bit of suspense. So I'm going to look at fluency. So I'm going to talk through this quickly, given of time, but I'm always happy to have a chat about this later if you're interested. But fluency really measures brand recognition and ultimately how clearly people align it to Deakin at the end of watching it. And we scored a 91, which is a really strong result. And I think it reinforced our commitment to integrating the brand throughout the ad and making sure it was there pretty early. Spike rating is essentially, it predicts the short-term sales potential of the ad. So the average spike rating sits at just over 1. It's probably might be a bit hard to see for everyone, but we, almost doubled that, I guess. Not quite actually, sorry. But it really, it leverages two things, or it looks at two things. So how quickly people associate the brand to the ad, and then the intensity of the emotions that are felt. And yeah, we scored really well here too. Now to the star rating. So this one predicts the ad's ability to really achieve the long-term market share growth. And that's done by measuring the emotional response to the ad. And I'll be really honest, when I saw these results, I was both thrilled and sad. Thrilled because I've never been part of a creative process that has achieved this star rating before. I nearly fell off my chair, and my team can attest to that. But sad because, or maybe disappointed more so than sad, because we were so close to the 5. But friendly bunch of people, I'm going to call it, it's a 5. Regardless, we're up there with some of the top Australian ads tested. So it feels like we're in a really good position. Our second tested partner, I said, was Luma. As I said, really taking a deep dive with students and parents. There's a lot of stuff we could have covered from that research, but I wanted to call out the hero metric. This is the one I wanted to dwell on most. It's the consideration among students. And this really was pretty exceptional results for us. It's probably the best we've ever achieved across all ads we've tested. A 20-point uplift in consideration is phenomenal. And even better, that group of students who previously said they'd never consider us has gone. So yeah, the creative testing has told us something pretty powerful, that it's not just an ad people like, it is an ad that is poised to change behaviour. But I hear your own voices saying, what about the ultimate test, that commercial impact? Well, like I said at the top, it's still early days. And you could probably say that the proof will be in the proverbial preference pudding that's coming up at the end of the year through the VTAC period. But yeah, early signs are pretty promising. After 7 flat domestic intakes for T2, we were up. We saw an uplift during that campaign launch. In T3, our results are stacking up to be pretty positive as well. Obviously, we've still got a long way to go there. And we had a pretty cracking open day series with our attendance up year on year. Now, many factors are at play. I think that was kind of asked before in a question. we can't necessarily claim it all. And I think there'll be more results to come when we do our next wave of brand tracking and continue to invest in this creative. So I'll wrap up by coming back to Ian's keynote earlier. I guess he reminded us that marketing should be both evidence-based and emotionally sharp. And I think this campaign for us, we feel like it's done exactly that. It wasn't about just about making an ad that looks good. It is really about ensuring that we're making an ad that is likely to change behaviour. So thank you.
Very good. Right in the front.
Hi, Shannon here from Bond Uni. Congratulations on the campaign. And on the Deakin's marketing in general, you are one to watch. I always kind of watch what you guys are doing and admire it from afar. I'm kind of interested in, and this is something that like we grapple with as well, that decision to do the big bang piece like this, when so much of our ad spend is on digital channels that don't kind of allow or really cater to these formats. It's that there's a lot of effort that goes into this, a lot of scrutiny, and then ultimately, you know, it doesn't have 5-year shelf life or whatever, you know, perhaps it might. I'm, you know, the robust approach you take to the research and evidence is really impressive. So well done on that. But yeah, I'm just interested in, like, with the shifting kind of media landscape, like how hard are those decisions becoming for a university like Deakin, where you've got like a nice, healthy, creative budget and obviously backing to go there, and some great kind of like, you know, track record of doing like good, like really strong creative work in your campaigns. Yeah, just interested in how that flows through the channels and those decisions.
Thank you for the compliments, by the way. Appreciate it. It's a really good question. So what we've shown you there is the 60 seconds. So it's the hero asset, but there are within that, there's multiple stories. We've got it, multiple executions, multiple cuts. And that was something I know when I joined Deakin, Matt and I talked about at length. We want to produce assets that have stretch. So the investment is really working quite hard for us. The 60 seconds, I mean, I'm speaking to a room of marketers. I feel like a 60-second, we grappled with this when we went to the media, you know, the media strategy part of this campaign. We were able to get some pretty effective 60-second buys through BVOD and subscription TV. So, subscription TV. So yeah, I think we've still been able to deliver this large hero asset while making sure we had lots of executions that meet the audience in the other channels that they're.
Kind of line still.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think from my perspective, this sort of storytelling is still really important, and we've been on a journey at Deakin for a little while now. It's been one of Matt's massive a thing that he's really championed in pushing more into brand and spending less in activation, not dissimilar to the guys from BU. So yeah, I think still has a role, but we have to acknowledge the changing nature of content and the way our customers and prospective students are consuming it. And I think we are definitely working on other things that do that as well. So it's not all heavily reliant on a big asset like this, and it's a broader ecosystem of content. So that's probably just around the planning that we go into to get to this point. Like I could share, there's a whole bunch, we've done a podcast series and other video executions off the back of this. So it's got a lot of stretch.
Anybody else? Lady.
Really quick, thank you. I echo what you said as well. I love what you guys are doing. Very jealous. Coming from a regional university with a shoestring budget, I just wanted to ask you, if you had to half quarter a tenth of the budget, what would you have skipped out in this whole process?
Oh gosh.
What's the one thing you absolutely must do?
The non-negotiable. I mean, we have to tell stories, right? So, and you can tell stories on a shoestring budget, you can tell stories on a large scale production budget. So I think I would not let go of telling the stories. And we've done that. We tell stories with using our internal video production team. They're doing podcasts at the moment. That's happening on a shoestring budget, right? So I think not losing sight of the job that we have as marketers to tell stories, to connect with people, is probably where I'd start. And you can do it in different ways these days.
Investing in something like System 1 is imperative to success.
I think System 1 of all of the ways in which you can test ads is probably the most economical option. It's like $12,000 to do a test with that rep and a custom sample. And so you get a lot of insights from it. Like I've only gleaned a few of the categories. There's a whole bunch of other insights within the platform that you can access. So I think that's a really affordable way to get a pulse check on your creative rather than going into the full depths. Yeah. Thank you.
Alan. Andrew Nichols from QUT. This is your campaign. It's an internal comms campaign. Now, keeping your campus healthy. You don't do a thing. It's very nice and detailed. Andrew, off you go.
Yeah. No, top up.
Okay. As I said, my name is Andrew Nichols. I'm a digital media officer in QUT. So we're going to bring the focus a bit narrower, focusing on our internal communications. Also the budget, we're going to drop that a little bit as well. As I walk you through working with students and some of the benefits that can give to a creative campaign and ideally deliver great outcomes for current students. So the person on the side there is Mitchell Ballas. At the time, he was a student designer, now works with us in the team, focused on digital and interactive content. So what's the role of internal communications? Like all universities, QUT is operating in an environment of increased expectations. The Accord, TEXA, government policy makes the visibility of student support a matter of compliance, but also student trust. At QUT, internal communications enhances the student experience by making this information timely, accessible, and engaging. One way we do this is through our student partnerships. So working with students, really students need communications that are authentic, relatable, and trusted. This is why we bring students into our team as paid student partners. We find that embedding creative student content into our messaging is central to our approach. On the flip side, students are excited at the opportunity to work with us and get to apply their skill sets at the finger bend. So we wanted to direct that energy, that student energy, to solve a challenge that we were having. Through testing, we found that some of QUT's services and facilities weren't as well known. They weren't being utilised as well as some of our others. So that they included things like end of trip facilities, study spaces, and also safety and security. So we decided to address this through an awareness campaign focused on the services and facilities, more than just those, that are available across our campuses. So how do we share that message? We decided that digital signage would be an ideal channel here. Internal communications manage a fleet of well over 120 screens. These screens are physically connected to the campus in pockets and common areas that students are already engaging with other services. So we're better to tell them about the services they might not be aware of. The digital signage, like our other internal channels, they've got their challenges. Mentioned this before, attention is hard to capture and harder to hold. We need strong creative formats or like unique, I guess, creativity applied in unique and different ways to make sure that we're standing out from other messages. We're rotating through messages really quickly, 20 seconds, so we really need to cut to the chase. We've got portrait and landscape screens, so we're creating twice the amount of assets. And yeah, we kind of decided that was the best starting channel to create our assets. So what do we do next? Mentioned authenticity before. Really, students need to feel like they're being spoken to as a student, and ideally other students can really get that message across. We need a bold and fun design, which is where bringing students into the team can kind of tap into that right mindset that might hit home with their peers. And we also wanted to find a way to pull photography into our campaign so that we could, I guess, visually connect the messaging with the creative and ideally end in a really good place. So for messaging, we had a few data points from our past data collections. So we knew the core areas that we needed to address, but what we didn't know was what messaging was going to really hit home. We were looking through how we've spoken about some of these services before, and came up with ideas for, I guess, messaging hooks, things that might tie a suite of messages together. This is where we landed on the "this is" intro to the suite of messages. And then to Mitchell. So Mitchell brought a lot of talent and a broad skill set to the team. He loved his iPad, so he got to work sketching up some of the creative ideas that we could explore, and landed pretty quickly on the idea of stretchy armed students using their stretchy arms to direct you to areas in the photos that we wanted to raise awareness of. And photography. So QT has a really large library of high quality photos, but for this campaign, we realized that we needed something that was a bit more tailored. So again, drawing from that student skill set, we brought Mitchell's camera along with our own, and started touring campus, finding the best vantage points to, I guess, finding the best vantage points that our existing library couldn't really target. So with that, we decided that if our existing photo library didn't have the right vantage, we needed a way to influence the on the site photography to make sure that we had that covered. So we got creative, and we took some of the draft characters and stuck that to cardboard and toured campus on some very hot Queensland summer days. And over 2 days, we took almost 400 photos, which was quite an endeavor. Luckily, we were able to edit those back in the aircon. So bringing it together, Mitchell started combining the assets, but we still left room for the creative concept to evolve as needed, which isn't always possible when you're doing this type of thing through an agency model, where the direction is kind of locked in quite firmly at an early stage. We decided that weaving the stretching arms in front of and behind different objects would help emphasize key objects in the photos. And once we felt confident in the design, developed an internal style guide so that we can apply this to a growing suite of assets really quickly. Something wasn't right though. We noticed that the photography was too good. It was like strong light sources or multiple objects in view meant that we weren't really targeting viewer attention. So we needed a way to dial back and focus that attention. So we worked on a half-tone effect, and then also expanded some of the creativity in the characters to those key objects to help separate or highlight what we wanted people to notice. And here's the result. So still focusing on digital signage, we ended up with 20 messages. These, again, shown on over 120 screens. So they're adding energy and interest to the channel. And, these screens are also seen by the public and future students. So really, it's kind of showing off QT's creativity and raising awareness of great services and facilities. Since then, we've adapted the messages to more of our channels, and the feedback has been really great. So speaking to students, we hear lots of references to the long-armed orange people, and how that's like made them aware of what those blue posts actually are for. Realizing that we do have great end-of-trip facilities, so there's somewhere to store their bikes securely. But yeah, really, it's the suite of assets is a testament to Mitchell, the creativity and skill set that he brought to the team, and then also to internal communications and how we've been evolving our processes to, I guess, let these students hit the ground running and, I guess, have creative freedom to, put their new skills to use. and see the result out on screens, like out on campus, which is ultimately what they really want to do. So results and takeaways. So we had those 20 messages for digital signage. That was expanded out into a total of 75 comms pieces. We've reached pretty much all of our students through all of our channels. And we really noticed like the data on our safety and security services really increasing, which you can see there. And this was all delivered in a less than 10K non-salary spend. So it's a amazing amount of work, really, delivered for not a lot of budget. And you know, the skill sets that were put into this weren't lost through an agency. You know, we have retained that skill set, that a large library of photos, and you know, also lets us update a lot of these assets without going back to that agency. So just quickly there. So there are a lot of benefits to bringing your audience into your team. You ideally have ways to reach out to your students and ways of identifying students with a strong skill set who are really seeking that opportunity to put it to use. Mitchell was one of those students, and now we're lucky that he's a part of the team. But we're still looking for more students and looking for opportunities to put their skills to the use as well. Yeah, so it's kind of the gist of the campaign. Any questions?
Questions? Gentlemen there.
I absolutely love this. With the internal comm stuff, and particularly something this complex, how do you manage these assets so that it stays in control with your team and it doesn't end up in a slide from a random school's presentation somewhere down the track, as wants to do at a university?
Yeah, we internal communications at QUT, we manage most of the channels that students are kind of seeing, being exposed to. So a lot of their emails, like our intranet, digital signage, those are all kind of closed internal channels. So while a student or somebody could go off and take a really close photo and maybe use AI to tidy that up, we don't see a lot of situations where suddenly our assets are popping up in, like, you know, a student event or a different university or anything like that. So so far so good. But I mean, you know, with AI and the ability to kind of scrape content getting it a bit easier, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that rears up and we start seeing a lot of the creative effort that we're putting into it. Yeah, appearing randomly.
Anybody else? We are at time, that's good. Thank you, Andrew Nichols from QUT.